When will my reflection show who I am inside?
No. What's going on, everybody? My name is David Fisch, and welcome to Fisch to Go, where I do movie and TV show reviews, make lists, new essays, all of that fun stuff for you to take on the go. Now, you might notice there's a bit of a change of scenery from the last few videos. I did move to a new apartment, and this look might be temporary, but rest assured, I'm the same old me. So what it ultimately comes down to is whether or not you take my word, or as Aladdin says,
do you trust me?
Because a change of scenery, even if you think it's the same thing, is the sort of boardroom approach that Disney has taken with all of its live-action remakes of all the 90s animated musical classics. They dress it up with tons of effects and give it a polish for modern-day audiences, and they sort of course correct some political incorrectness of the time. But otherwise, the idea of taking these beloved films and putting them into the live-action arena is one that Disney seems to think you'll buy into no matter what, because IP, baby. No, wait, before you trigger the censors, I don't actually mean IP. I mean intellectual property, and Disney has a lot of it. So I am a little reluctant to review any of the live-action remakes, though I did get a request to review the new Mulan. It didn't technically state which version of the movie it is, I just assumed it was the new one. I would watch the 1998 animated version in a heartbeat. I'm just hesitant to review this new one because of my past experiences with disappointment after disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. But I'm always holding out hope, and the intrigue begins with the fact that this version of Mulan tries to tell the original tale in a more literal sense, without any of the music or the side characters or, you know, the Disney stuff. It's something they've tried doing in previous live-action remakes, but maybe this one won't be so bad. David, this is how Disney gets you. So I spent the premium $30 and took a gander so you didn't have to, and the question is, did Mulan change my mind about this slew of remakes? Or rather, did this version of Mulan bring honor to us all? Stick around if you dare, and if you're looking to avoid any spoilers, I would probably suggest waiting until wintertime when Disney makes this film readily available for all Disney Plus subscribers. And just a reminder, as always, if you have a movie or TV show you want to see reviewed on this channel, be sure to leave that and your opinions on this particular film in the comments down below. And of course, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, subscribe, and ding that bell so that way you can support the channel and be notified as soon as content drops. So as Donny Osmond once sang, let's get down to business and let's review Mulan 2020. This version of Mulan follows most if not all of the same plot elements of the original 1998 version, in that Hua Mulan is a very precocious child growing up in Imperial China where gender roles are very well established and she must learn to be a proper lady and be matched with a husband to bring honor to her family's name. But tyrannical warrior Bori Khan and his Ruran warriors are closing in on the Emperor, and so the Emperor enlists every available male resource to join this new battle. For Mulan, that means her aging father, who once served as a warrior but is now much more feeble and far less agile. So to care for her father and equally honor her family name, Mulan secretly grabs her father's sword and attire and dresses up as a warrior to enlist herself. And though she sometimes struggles with impersonating a male among the other warriors, it becomes evident that she is far more experienced in fighting and agility than her comrades. And even with the looming Bori Khan and his henchman or henchwoman Falcon Jian Yang approaching at every corner, Mulan comes to fight personal battles that will ultimately reveal who she really is. So this review isn't meant to compare and contrast both versions of the film, but it is interesting to see what liberties the filmmakers decided to take with this new one. Like I said, the plot elements are largely intact, with Mulan defying gender roles and her trying to honor her family and her fighting the enemy to help save China. But there are some notable changes in the characters that it slightly alters the way in which the plot unfolds. With the villain switch from Shan Yu, who is the Han leader who was hell-bent on conquering China, to Bori Khan, who was the Ruan leader whose ill intent was to avenge his father's death and kill the Emperor of China, it gives a more generalized threat that was Shan Yu into a more personal one, which is Bori Khan. And Shan Yu's non-talking, stealthy, ordinary Falcon Hayabusa from the original film has been fully transformed into Jian Yang, a sidekick female character to Bori Khan who can sort of turn from Falcon into human and serves as a personal additional adversary to Mulan. Li Shang, who was the love interest in the original film and was the army captain, has been sort of divided between two different characters in this new one, where the army captain is this more straightforward Commander Tung, and her love interest is a new recruit named Chen Honghui. That's likely the hardest pill to swallow for a lot of fans, because Li Shang, even though he was Mulan's superior and effectively Me Too'd out of this movie, He was sort of into her when she was a male warrior, so he sort of represented an LGBTQ angle of the film. There's a lot to read into that, but maybe that's for another video. As stated earlier, the sidekicks have also been sidelined with Eddie Murphy's Mushu and Mulan's other comrades who served as comedic foil, as well as her family spirits who have been sort of reimagined as this phoenix that appears throughout the film. So because of these changes, the film has a tendency to take on a more serious direction while still retaining elements that made up the original. Director Niki, Caro, who made the excellent Whale Rider back in 2002, takes the helm here and stages some eye-catching action sequences and, well, okay, this is where it gets difficult. Because I don't know how many other positive things I can say about this Mulan. This version has a ton of problems, and I don't know who to blame. While I can admire the filmmakers for trying to retell Mulan as a more serious, straightforward version of the original tale, it's surprisingly baffling how much they don't take this very seriously. The air in which this film breathes is a tussle between trying to keep those original elements of the film, the whimsy, the flair, the set pieces, with trying to tell a more serious narrative that it can't really determine what audience this is meant for. Is it for us nostalgia-ridden millennials who just want to see the same movie but in live-action format, or is it for the next generation to consume and to pine over, or is it for adults who just want more sophisticated fare? Like, it doesn't really know, and it tries for everyone and sticks no landing. Like, we see the scene from the original film where Mulan meets the matchmaker, and it's supposed to be a very funny sequence as we see Mulan's many missteps in trying to become a proper woman because she just doesn't care. But its intention as an almost shot-for-shot remake of the original scene is muddied because it's a film that's attempting seriousness, so it feels random and out of place. Does it help to move along the story? Yes, but because of its cartoonish nature, the cartoon got away with doing that, not this realized world where our expectations are in reality, and that would never happen. So it's like, yay, I remember that scene, then it's over. It's over. It also sets off a series of shots throughout the film that look cool with energetic editing and new lensing techniques, but it all feels vapid because these shots are used once or twice and then never used again. So you're just left there confused because you're not really sure of the intent or purpose of the shots. But hey, did you see that cool shot? Eh? Yeah, I don't buy it. And with that said, the film has a lot of pacing issues with shots or even whole sequences that don't feel really necessary to the plot or character development. Whereas in the animated version, Shan Yu is this general villainous threat, a sort of personification of evil, if you will, and has very little dialogue, it allows the focus to remain on Mulan, who has to overcome such evil and empowers her. In this version, we get Bori Khan, who has a whole scene in which he spells out all of his intentions for the audience and spoon feeds them, that it leaves very little to the imagination, and at worst leaves you wanting more scenes with Mulan, which, to be honest, aren't that good either. You know it's a bad situation when even your title character isn't that interesting. From the get-go, we see Mulan as a truly unique skill set at a very young age, and while we will obviously see how she will hone her power later on, it leaves the viewer stone-faced because we don't really get to see a transformation. In the 1998 version, Mulan starts off as this clumsy but charming girl next door who cares deeply for her father, so she goes into battle and learns on the job how hard it is to become a warrior. So not only do we see her transform into this badass female warrior while still keeping the virtues of her independence, we see her grow from adolescence into adulthood. In this new Mulan, it is assumed that she already had a special gift to begin with, so when we see her fight later on, it's sort of like, cool, I guess. It's the equivalent of watching someone who says, look what I can do, instead of actually just seeing them without the preconception. So the Mulan in this version goes from point A to point A. And yes, there are a number of movies that do that, some of which I love, but it's all about the journey, and the journey that the filmmakers take in this movie is a tedious one at best. On top of that, the acting is also surprisingly wooden, with Liu Yifei's portrayal of Mulan seemingly uninspired and oftentimes bored. Like the scene in which she makes the decision to take her father's sword and go to the army to battle in his place. Never did I feel like she toiled with the decision, she just did it because the plot told her to. The other actors like Donnie Yen, Jason Scott Lee, Jet Li, and Z Ma, all great actors in their own right, are just given very little to work with, oftentimes reciting their lines which just serve to spoon feed the plot anyways. So everything is very on the nose. For an action movie, it's slow paced, it almost abandons everything that made the main character so enriching, and it doesn't really know who it's for or why. That's the biggest takeaway, is that it doesn't answer why this movie needs to exist, which is the downfall of most, if not all, of the live action Disney remakes. Niki, Caro, and the filmmakers just seem to be chugging alongside the Disney execs in at Boardroom who just want to relive their IP. Remember, intellectual property. Which makes the answer to why this movie exists is to continually make the rich even richer, which is upsetting because I know there is a mass amount of talent behind the scenes that can take these new interpretations to new heights. I know it. But the original animated films score time and time again because the filmmakers make it feel timeless. They were boundless in their efforts because they were given the chance to showcase their storytelling prowess, and it still shows today. With Mulan particularly, there is an acute understanding of character at its core and a semblance of a story that is meant to be for everyone. And the free will that is the realm of animation helps us guide us into that transformation, even if it breaks into song or has zany antics. It's called a suspension of disbelief, which is why it's okay that a cricket can have a personality and loves tea. Okay, I gotta not be angry here, but Disney essentially stripped this remake of what made the original film so adventurous and enriching and engrossing, all while adding nothing new to the story, even if it has some set dressing that looks fresh and cool. It's why I've decided to give Mulan 2020 a final rating of 1 out of 5 stars, and you can stream that and the better original film on Disney+. I never go into a movie wanting to not like it, but the fact that I had to spend more money on top of what I'm already spending for a streaming service and then not liking it, that hurts. That actually hurts everywhere. So if you're still interested in seeing it even after my scathing review, I would wait until winter time when it will become available on Disney Plus for every subscriber. But hey, I need to feed that bad energy with love. So I would love to know what your thoughts on the film are if you've seen it. And of course, as always, I need to know more of your movie and TV show recommendations. So be sure to leave all of that in the comments down below. The Disney live action remakes aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So if you do recommend any one of those to me to review, or if there's a new one coming out that you want me to review, I just hope that they improve. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a huge thumbs up, a subscribe, and ding that bell so that way you can support the channel and be notified as soon as content drops. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm David Fisch for Fisch to Go.